All right, good evening, everybody. It's Chris here again. We'll wait for everybody to join and come on. Just wanted to give a update here tonight. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this. Scott just did an update here about 2 hours ago on the cryptocurrency investing page on that Facebook group as well. But anyways, just wanted to go through a few things that I've been seeing in the news over the last couple days, and I'm starting to see it with a lot of people. I think panic's starting to set in. We've got some angry people in the group, and I'm just seeing it kind of all over, and rightfully so. Things aren't good from a technical price standpoint, and I'm definitely not going to come on here tonight and tell you guys that we're on the verge of a massive rebound or anything like that, because we're not. I'll explain, where I think we're going, why I think we're going there, and then kind of just expectations going forward. But there was a couple things as far as the news goes that I wanted to cover, because I think people are forgetting, with this downturn, why they're even invested in this space. And I think it's easy for us to really forget, what got us into this, in the first place. And really, we're seeing nothing more, guys, than just the cycle of the market. And we know that when the institutions and the big guys come in, they want to be buying these coins and these cryptos at much lower prices than they have been, and even where we're currently at today. But I wanted to read this. This is directly from the CFTC .gov website. This was a actual speech and testimony from one of the commissioners that was given in New York last week on June 4th. And this is the kind of stuff that I'm talking about. The governments, the regulators, the powers at be, they know they know what's in store. They know what's going on. They see the power of this asset class, how big this is going to become. And I wanted to share this with people because when I read this, I was actually blown away that somebody within the government, especially one of these agencies, would actually come out and say exactly what this guy said in testimony right out in the open to people. But after I read it and went through it and started to think, why would someone openly admit this and say this on record? I think this stuff actually happens every single day in all industries, not just the financial sector, not just crypto, but I think that this stuff is out there being said by our own government officials every single day, and nobody takes time to actually go and look at this stuff or read up on it, when really it's out there in the open for all of us to see. And it just kind of goes along with the blind mentality of society and people in general. And the government knows it, and the media knows it, and so they just continue to do the things that they do day in and day out, week and month and year after year. And people just I hate to say it, but society is really just kind of a blind sheep most of the time on most of the stuff. But anyways, I'll read this here, and then we'll get to charts and kind of what I think all this means. But he starts out with saying, regarding blockchain and financial technology more generally, we've been out front on this issue and outspoken for the last couple of years. We've been providing oversight in our markets, especially to make blockchain and other technologies more transparent and to ensure that the markets are free from fraud and manipulation. It isn't easy. Some people call this new technology the Wild West. I guess my agency is the equivalent of Wyatt Earp in Tombstone. We have engaged in notable enforcement actions both in the United States, working with the Securities and Exchange Commission, the Department of Homeland Security, the Department of Justice, and the Department of Treasury, among others. And we are providing public information to educate our citizens. thereby deterring fraud, misinformation, misrepresentation, manipulation, or other criminality. More about all this in a few minutes. The debate on virtual assets is just beginning. None of us know where it will end, but it has forced us to rethink. We have learned that virtual assets respect no boundaries. Regulation is often behind the curve, unable to keep up with daily developments, at least the developments we know about. As a result, some countries have outlawed virtual currencies. Others have new, strict laws to control them. Many countries simply don't know what to do. And I will say that that's really, I believe, where the majority is. They don't know what to do, and they're literally just trying to figure out how they're going to approach this from a regulatory standpoint. So he continues, their policy is bewilderment or avoidance. And some countries think virtual currencies are only a problem for developed countries like Switzerland or Germany or Singapore or the United States. But virtual currencies may and will become part of the economic practices of any country anywhere. Let me repeat that. These currencies are not going away, and they will proliferate to every economy in every part of the planet. Some places, small economies, may become dependent on virtual assets for survival, and these currencies will be outside traditional monetary intermediaries like government, banks, investors, ministries, or internal organizations. We are witnessing a technological revolution. Perhaps we are witnessing a modern miracle. Then he talks about corruption. That may be good or bad. One of the often discussed problems in developing countries is corruption. I know it is a perennial problem undermining the work of the United States and virtually all internal organizations. It may be the single greatest impediment to social justice, equality, hunger, peaceful resolution of conflict, and a host of other problems. My agency deals with corruption in our markets on a daily basis. As soon as a new product becomes available to the retail public, fraudsters come up with new ways to take advantage of those just seeking to invest their hard-earned dollars. Now, with the advent of virtual current assets, technology may provide a solution, and the single greatest weapon against corruption may be the cell phone. There are 6.8 billion cell phones in the world, almost one for every person on the planet. Technology could simply bypass corruption. Here is our chance to put money directly into the hands of those who need it, without bribery, rake-offs, graft, and shakedowns. Virtual currencies could transform the economic and social landscape. It could mean a massive and equitable shift of wealth. Technology could be transformational without a military takeover, civil war, or political or religious creed. However, and this is what just blew me away that he said this. However, economic elites know all of this. They will not be idle. This is what I mean by a powerful danger. If the kleptocracy controls technology and the means of distribution, then they simply accumulate more wealth at the expense of their citizens, draining wealth in cryptocurrencies rather than dollars or euros. Virtual assets may be a stranglehold. In other words, technology can be a weapon against the work of the United Nations and others trying to alleviate poverty or violence. Virtual assets become a means of deeper control of wealth and a means of exploitation. Of course, social media gives us an example of a virtual battlefield. Censorship accompanies social media in many countries, or simply consider the size of Google or Facebook larger than many countries and wealthier, and more influential with massive data collection. Then increase all that exponentially. That is the sort of situation that must give us pause. But events are happening so fast that there isn't time for reflection or wonder. We are simply trying to understand that which at the time of Dag Hammarskjöld was impossible to imagine. Poverty. I know some have argued that virtual assets could be a way to spread the wealth and end poverty. They have argued blockchain could be the means for ending poverty. That such a possibility should drive the virtual debate. The so-called unbanked can now be on the virtual grid, and those without computers, some 4 billion people, could gain an important connection through cell phones. And the discussion has extended to micro-lending, microtransactions, greater transparency, and greater financial inclusion. I used a word a moment ago that should echo through this hall: transformative. The old limits of parameters may crumble with the dawn of new technology. So this is the stuff that I'm talking about. This is coming directly from a commissioner within the CFTC, of the United States federal government. We are so early into this. Again, it's why, yeah, it sucks prices down, and I keep telling people I don't expect price to go up until regulatory clarity, custodial options are resolved. You go and look up, Google Trends and anything like that. There's just no interest on a retail basis, and so there's absolutely zero new volume. When we go and look at the charts, the only volume that's been coming in is selling pressure, and we're literally just hanging right now on this 6,500. I was calling this out 2 weeks ago. In fact, the last time I came on here, I said we'll see 6,500, and then I said upon a break of that, we will end up at the 5,000 region, which will virtually be a free fall. I marked out this circle here because when I go to the weekly, this is actually the long-term trend line. Still uptrend intact on the weekly. Started back in March of last year. This is where I expect price to go. The real true buying area, I believe, will be in this 5,000 to 3,000. 5,000 to 3,000 region. Again, I don't expect any real serious buying volume to come in except for from the institutions. Nobody's talking about as far as retail, and I've seen people here that have been investing in this, that were big on this, and just recently this week after a drop over the weekend that just said, to hell with this, I'm out of it. We're seeing the shakeout of weak hands. We're going to continue to see that, and like I'm telling people in the group, buckle up, because it's going to get worse. This is still not the bottom. That 5,000 area is kind of the line in the sand for mining profitability. But even if we drop below that, a lot of these mining outfits, they're massive operations, and they've got plenty of profits built up from before, so they can stand to operate at a loss for a while. They don't obviously want to do it for a very long time. I don't think we're going to drop below 3,500, 3,600. In fact, I will be shocked if we even get down there. But that to me is going to be the absolute bottom. And like I told people in the group today too, do not be shocked, and I won't be shocked if we get down here, say, and I told people this in the group as well, I won't be shocked to see 5,000 here by the end of the week. Once this 6,500 breaks, we will literally go into a free fall down to 5,000. And the D extension, like I said, from the main down AB fib sequence from the all-time high, that D extension puts us right at 5,200. So see here. Switch this to the daily. Where the B is. So that's what I'm looking at. Selling pressure is going to increase anytime you have an expansion as far as going up. It's an aggressive move, right? So let me just get this off here as well as this one. So when we had this move up here in December, we broke out of here. There's really, this was kind of the only last resistance we saw, right around the middle of November, and then just boom, literally 5,500 to 20,000 in a straight shot. Just 6 straight weeks of nothing but up. Anytime you're completing a wave cycle, the fifth wave is always a impulsive wave. A bunch of people talking about a triple bottom here. This is not going to hold. I mean, the daily here, the daily bar from even today, closed just below this. Maybe we come up and hit the EMA here again, and then we're just going to drop. But I don't even see that. There is literally no buying volume, and I won't be shocked if we start this move again middle of the night. By the time we get to the U.S. session, I'm literally expecting this area to be hit by the end of the week. And so, I can see us going sideways here for a while. The bottoming out process, usually takes a while. Scott was saying he thinks last quarter of the year is going to be dynamite again. I believe that to be true. If we have the regulations in place, the custodial issue taken care of, I think that stuff is coming. I will be absolutely shocked if we do not see that stuff in place, before the end of summer, coming into fall. I don't see it. There's so much action. I mean, Fidelity, they're now hiring devs. They're hiring people to come into their trading desk. These big financial institutions and outfits, they want to get into this space as soon as possible. Coinbase, as much as I hate them, their customer service sucks. They've actually blocked my account from back on the double charge event that happened with Visa a couple months ago. Still waiting on them to get that resolved. I mean, they're horrible, and really they don't care. They know they can be because they have a monopoly on the market, and it is what it is. But they are positioning themselves to be the major custodial option for institutions, and I think they are going to try to position themselves as the go-to people for that. And then I think we'll see somebody, not necessarily a JP Morgan, but somebody of that caliber and that name is going to come in, that handles custodial options for traditional assets. Right now, I think somebody like that will come forward, and that's when you're going to see the massive watershed moment that I talk about. I refer to I don't know if anybody's seen the movie The Big Short, but when we had the housing crisis, the financial crisis in 2007, they talked about the mortgage-backed security bonds, and that is what I think is coming with Bitcoin ETFs, crypto ETFs in general. The first application for institutional investors was filed last week with the SEC. I anticipate they'll get word back on that within the next couple months, might even be in the next couple weeks. Once that gets approved, that is where we're going to see a massive shift of new institutional money come into this. That is when you're going to open up pension funds, endowments, 401ks. I'm talking, state, federal government, massive pension funds, and you're going to get a FOMO of institutional money. And it's only going to take one major major pension or endowment fund to enter this, and it'll be off to the races. And that's why I keep telling people, look, I am buying every single day right now out of our mining profits. I'm buying every single day. So right now we're mining Digibyte. It's the most profitable coin to mine. It's more profitable than Bitcoin right now. I'm taking that Digibyte and we're selling that every day, and I'm continuing to buy the same coins and projects that I've been buying before. Nothing has changed. So a lot of people were asking me about ZRX today, because ZRX fell pretty aggressively compared to the rest of the market. Had close to a 20% sell-off today. This was because of Coinbase announcing last night listing Ethereum Classic. When that first came out, I was shocked, for one, that they just put a tweet out and just announced it instead of doing just a normal listing like they have previously. And then secondly, I was shocked because it was Ethereum Classic. Nobody's talking about Ethereum Classic. I think everybody was shocked that that was the coin that they listed. But after it happened and I started thinking about it and looking into it more, this told me a couple things. One, Ethereum is 100% not a security. Coinbase would not be listing Ethereum Classic if there was any chance of Ethereum being labeled a security. They want to be, them and Gemini, with the Winklevoss twins exchange, those two exchanges want to be the leaders with regulators. They want to be SEC compliant. They want to be the go-to exchanges for really everybody. They want to be the choice for investors. So that told me they're going to support forks. We saw it with Bitcoin Cash. Bitcoin Cash was listed, a fork of Bitcoin, and now Ethereum Classic, a fork of Ethereum. So number one, Ethereum is not going to be a security. They know without a shadow of a doubt Ethereum will not be labeled a security. Number two, they're drawing support to the major coins and tokens that have been around the longest, but also have had forks. They want to offer that support, and also they're focusing on coins that they deem not to be centralized. A lot of sour people in the XRP and Ripple community because they, just so badly want XRP to be listed on Coinbase. I think XRP will be one of the last tokens to get listed on Coinbase, if at all. For one, Coinbase is anti-XRP. They're anti-Ripple. They're Bitcoin maximalists. They're pro-Bitcoin. But even EOS, EOS, the people forget about EOS. There's all this backlash about XRP and Ripple. EOS is owned by Block One. EOS has a centralized company that owns the EOS ecosystem. EOS also has a very low delegate count, low node count, and so it's more of a kind of centralized system as well. I don't think EOS is going to be on there anytime soon as well. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. What I am very confident in, though, still under their guidelines and what they deem, the rules are to be applicable to being listed on their exchange. I'm still big on ZRX. Nothing has changed on that. In fact, I posted an article earlier today, and I'll add it to the Cryptogasmic page here as well. I fully expect ZRX will be, if it isn't the next one, I'm not going to put a timestamp on it, but believe me, it will be on there eventually. And nothing's changed. ZRX is a working product today. They just tweeted the other day they put out record trade volume. They're a working product today. EOS, still had another delay and glitch with their launch again, today or yesterday. So many of these projects are just that. They're ideas. They're a speculation play. We're all speculating here, but some of these products actually do have viable products, and they're working today. And again, I'm going to continue to buy ZRX. I'm going to continue to buy Golem. I'm going to continue to buy XRP. This is the time to be buying, people. It's Scott says it all the time. I say it all the time. Like it's the same with like Forex investing. Talking to investors or talking to traders and saying, here's a strategy or a system that can produce 100% a year. Okay, I'll use a strategy that I'm using personally with Forex. I know I can produce 100% a year, but I'm going to have probably somewhere in there a 20 to 30% drawdown. And you ask people, are you comfortable with the 20 to 30% drawdown? And they always, of course, say, well, yeah, I'm comfortable with it if you can tell me that you're going to produce 100%. They're comfortable with it until it happens. It's the same with this now. Scott and I have been saying for the last weeks and a couple months, we're going down to 5,000. 6,500 is not going to be the bottom. We're just seeing it, over and over, and it's the same pattern playing out on everything. The bounces have been lower and lower each time, and volume just continues to decrease. This is the daily chart, and we had a ton of volume here on the first time that we touched down to 6,000, and since then it's just been nothing but decreasing volume. These are people that are leaving the market. They're selling out. They say, hey, I've had enough. I'm not going to come back in. They probably will come back in, but they're going to come back in again when we're nearing all-time highs or past all-time highs, making new highs again. And the pattern just repeats over and over and over and over and over. This is the time to be patient, and this is the time to be buying. Again, this is not the absolute bottom, but when I say we're closer to a bottom than we are at top, that's absolutely right. 20,000 is our top. We're sitting at 6,500 right now. I think the absolute worst case scenario for Bitcoin is we maybe see another, possibly 3,000 drop from here. Start staggering buys if you want. Scott talks about it, and this was one of the biggest aha moments I had as far as equity management goes when learning Forex. And so many people, this is such a simple tactic, but very few people know about it. If you're going to start buying, let's say you're going to start buying here, and I'll just reiterate Scott's example. Let's say you've got 10,000 and you're looking to deploy and stagger buys. This was very powerful with fib sequences. If I want to get an entry in at the 382, another entry at the 50, another entry at the 618, another entry at the 786, and another entry at the 86. Well, my smaller buys are going to be towards the top, okay, the lower retracements. But the deeper the price gets into that retracement, I want to be staggering my buys larger on the way down, closest to that A or that B extension. The reason for that is because when price starts to reverse and come up out of that, price doesn't have to move that much for you to be in the green or the black. And so your risk becomes much less the farther down into that fib sequence you go. And that's what I'm saying, there's a lot of support down here on a long term. And from a weekly, from the weekly chart standpoint, we haven't done anything to violate this uptrend. This trend line is still intact, right here, it's still intact. This gets us down kind of farther into the support, the actual true, few areas of support and resistance that price history shows us. And this is where, the institutions, this is where the big dogs are going to be buying. They're not going to be buying until they know that they're in the clear and allowed to buy. And that's what I'm saying, I am not optimistic on the bullish move until that happens. But I will not be shocked if all of a sudden price gets down into this area and Jay Clayton and the SEC and CFTC and whoever else, they come out and say, okay, this is how we're going to treat this. Here's the regulations. Here's how we're going to treat this asset class. Here's what each bank institution needs to do. I will not be at all shocked for that news to come out while price is in the green box here. This is how the government works all the time. This is how the institutions work. This is how the elites and the media. This is how this stuff happens across all industries all the time. This is the crap they pull all the time. So we're in for some more blood, and it's probably going to stay that way for I won't be shocked to see us be down here for a couple weeks, couple months. But just remember, what I read you here at the beginning of the deal. These guys know the power of this. It's not going away. The reason why I'm telling people about this so much is because I truly do believe that we can see an enormous amount of shift of wealth around the world in this. And he says it right here. However, economic elites know all this. They will not be idle. This is what I mean by a powerful danger. If the kleptocracy controls technology and the means of distribution, then they simply accumulate more wealth at the expense of their citizens, draining wealth in cryptocurrencies rather than dollars or euros. Virtual assets may be a stranglehold. In other words, technology can be a weapon against the work of the United Nations and others trying to alleviate poverty or violence. So he's saying that the powers that be, they can use this asset to even acquire more wealth, you know. But what he said up here, this is what I meant to first read, it could mean a massive and equitable shift of wealth. This truly can, I believe, 6.8 billion cell phones in the world. Everybody has the power now to connect, and you can literally buy and sell this stuff from the palm of your hand. I truly believe the more people that learn about this, educate themselves, and get involved, they really have the ability to make a tremendous amount of money, and for the good, But it's going to be bumpy. It's going to be volatile. We're at the very bottom of the adoption S curve, and as long as people know that, hey, it's going to be a rough ride, but just stay the course. This isn't going anywhere. I am super excited about the next 5 years. Novogratz just said, Mike Novogratz, ex-hedge fund for Fortress, he's now launched Galaxy Digital, trying to become, the go-to main bank for the crypto sphere. He's projecting 20 trillion. I keep saying we're going to be in that 15 to 25 trillion on this next swoon. The dot-com bubble was 6 trillion, and that was 20 years ago. We're going to be way far beyond that. The dot-com bubble was, basically U.S. centered. That was the U.S. stock exchange. This is on a global scale. We're going to see it. December was not the bubble. December was not. December was retail FOMO. Okay, let's times that by 10, 20x once institutions get involved, and it's just a waiting game. It's the regs are going to come. I don't know when. Like I said, I'll be shocked if it's not within the next 3 months or by the end of this year. I think we're getting close, and the next big product that will come out in this sphere will be ETF centered, and so again, just have patience. If there's certain coins and projects that you're buying and accumulating and holding, now's the time to be adding to them. We are closer to a bottom than we are a top, and once this thing gets turned around, and this is what I keep telling people, once the floodgates open, the market cap is literally going to double up virtually overnight. And if we keep dropping as much as we are, it's probably going to triple. Market cap just continues to dwindle, so it's even less now than it was before. I've been telling the group to, we're probably going to see 225. We're going to see probably sub 250 easily. I expect Bitcoin to dip below 100. Ethereum could probably see, honestly, below 30. So yeah, we're going to be probably sub 225, closer to 200 once this thing gets down to where I believe it's going. But anyways, just wanted to give my 2 cents there. Don't buy into the BS. Here's an article that just came out. Bitcoin futures could spur bank rating downgrade. This is the kind of shit that just drives me up a wall. Anybody that saw the movie The Big Short, there's a scene in there where they go into the S&P or Moody's office and they talk to that lady, and she flat out told them that they knew all along that these bonds and these trying to think what the tranches, everything that they were grouping together, they knew that this was dog shit. They knew all of this was dog shit, but they didn't want to downgrade them because they knew they'd go right across the street and get the rating that they wanted. It was all about the bottom line in business. And here they're going to start downgrading banks because they're clearing Bitcoin futures. Who gives? I mean, this is the epitome of a double standard. So this kind of shit, it's like, you watch, they're stating it today, and then once this thing goes through the roof, and if profits become more, and they will, once these banks get involved, we're seeing it. Binance is literally breaking records for profitability, along with Coinbase and these other massive exchanges. They're beating the bottom lines of banks that have been around 100 and 200 years. So do not be shocked if this headline completely goes the opposite way once these banks start clearing massive profits from the trading activity and the volatility of the crypto space. But I just find this is the kind of stuff that I find comical, and if you're educated and you know what these how these guys operate, this is no surprise. But here was the article I was talking about. I'll post this along with I'll post that CFTC article on the Cryptogasmic page, so you guys can get that link to that as well if you want to read through that whole testimony. So anyways, let's see, Ryan had a question here. Yeah. So unfortunately, Bitcoin drops, the whole space drops. I actually think so. XRP, I actually posted on my personal social media the other day of where XRP is headed. We're going to see XRP be in that 20 to 40 cent region again. This will be the buy zone. So we're talking literally a full 100% retracement, of the move that started in December. This is going to be your buy area. I did post the other day, not in this group, but I posted in another group. I wanted to point something out here though on XRP. So this is XRP BTC. So this candle right here, this was the day that Bitcoin had the big drop. Yep, right here. So we can see what this bar did. Dropped from 7,500 actually all the way down to 66 and pulled up a little bit. During that same time, XRP had a big spike against Bitcoin. And as you can see, it retraced about 50% of that daily bar move. And if you go and look, in fact, let's go to an hour chart here. It shows it much more drastically. Yeah, here it was. In fact, it gapped. So here was your big move. This is when everything fell. And then we see this hour candle here just shot straight up. I'm not saying that this is the exact moment in time where XRP is going to decouple from Bitcoin, but this was a pretty drastic move, and it was literally, I mean, you can see it here. Bitcoin dropped and then just went sideways. I mean, we had a lot of money. There was a lot of buying pressure right here against Bitcoin. That tells me that XRP is slowly starting to gain strength. Now, when we have this capitulation move that's coming, unfortunately, it's still going to drop. But you can see, this is the XRP BTC chart. You can see we're still quite a bit higher, from where this thing was. This was when, Bitcoin absolutely peaked. Yeah, it was pretty close to the top there, 17,000. Probably for the next year at least, things are going to be very, very correlated, unfortunately. But as more and more people come into this space, we get more education, we actually start to see partnerships and real use cases and things really come to fruition. We're going to see that decoupling. But as far as this next drop that I'm expecting, everything's going to drop. I think I don't know that XRP gets into the 20 cents. I don't even know if it gets into the 30s, but it'll definitely get into the 40s. I expect it's going to be somewhere in that 30 to 40. That's going to be the place to buy. As far as Ethereum goes, Ethereum is going to be the same thing. Unfortunately, we're going to see Ethereum probably back in this 300 to 400 range. Be the same thing. I could literally see about 400 to 250 for coming for Ethereum. So it's the same patterns, pretty much across the board. If you're invested in the top 50 coins, I don't think you have much to worry about. I do tell people that even those within the top 25, top 20, there's a high probability that 15 out of 20 of the top coins may not even exist 12 to 18 months from now. There's a lot of this stuff that is just still, at this point, really just an idea. And so I don't think a lot of that's going to matter, at least in this next run up. But after we have the next major run up, that's when a person really wants to make sure that, they're invested in some viable products. But right now, IOTA has announced several partnerships. They are working with several major groups. Cardano, really just an idea. Tron, really just an idea. Neo, I was big on. I'm not really as much anymore. They run something like 8 or 9 nodes. So really a really centralized platform. And with that little amount of nodes, you're really susceptible to a hack. Bitcoin, don't quote me on this, I believe it has over 1,000. Ethereum has 25,000. XRP I think has around 600 or 700. So I'm still big on EOS. I think EOS is going to be big. I think Ethereum is going to be big. I actually like VeChain a lot. But as far as the blockchain plays go, I'm not trying to pick a winner because I think it's too early to tell which ones will be the winners. We're sitting at 1,628 coins right now. 15 to 1,500, and honestly 1,600 of them are probably not going to be around 5-10 years from now. In the end, we're going to probably have 3 to 5 blockchain main blockchain winners, and that's going to be just an unbelievable market cap size when it's all said and done. But so anyways, guys, if you guys want to join our Telegram group, you can private message me or Scott. I think Scott puts that link on the website. I'll post the CFTC article here, as well as the other one there on the Ethereum Classic and Coinbase. And it's just a waiting game. So I'll leave it at that for tonight. We'll see what happens here, and we'll keep you guys updated as things progress here. And we'll just catch you guys later. So thanks for tuning in. Catch you next time.